First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. We are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We're here every weekday, starting at 1 o'clock. We go throughout the afternoon and cover a wide range of topics. So thanks for joining us. And I am happy to have here with us now, making your Fox 12 Now debut. Big deal there. Peyton Romans, so from our Fox 12 Investigates team. And yeah, thanks, Peyton, for being here. And I got to say, for a lot of people out there, probably seen at least parts of your recent story and coverage. We're going to watch the entire thing here now, but for those who haven't, can you set up, what it is we're about to see here?
Right, so our investigative team has already covered data centers and how they can jack up your utility bill, but another problem is how much water they need to function. So these data centers have been popping up in the state for a while now, but specifically a big concentration is happening in Boardman, Oregon, which is a small rural town of a little less than 4,000 people in the Northeast. And this town also already has a highly documented problem with nitrate pollution in their drinking water. So when you add 30 plus data centers onto it, it can only increase the problem.
Right, that's a massive amount of power and cooling that's needed, I would think, for all of those.
Right.
Well, let's go ahead, and if you want to, we'll watch this all together, and then we're going to talk to Peyton afterward, too, and just find out a little more information about the story, but very, very important one.
That's right. Our investigative team has previously reported on data centers and how they can affect your electric bill, but another issue lies in their immense water usage. And when a small town already has a history of water pollution, adding over 30 data centers on top of that only accelerates the problem. Boardman seemed like the perfect place for Jim Klipfel to raise his family and his goats.
Everything just kind of fit. Everything was great.
But there was a growing problem just underneath his own feet, and it was years before he realized.
When I'm standing out here watering a tree and my neighbor's driving by and I'm drinking out of the hose, and he's like, hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
The neighbor warned him that the town's water was polluted with nitrates, a chemical that has been labeled as a carcinogen when in high levels.
So that's 3 years of you drinking that water without knowing there was a problem.
Making coffee with it, all that kind of stuff, making soups and drinking it straight out of the tap as if it were just clean, normal water.
Officials of Boardman, a rural, nearly 4,000-person town in eastern Oregon, had known of the nitrate problem since the 90s, as documented by the Department of Environmental Quality. But Caleb Lay, with Oregon Rural Action, says that the problem is getting worse.
There's a really bad groundwater pollution issue here with nitrate in groundwater, among some other things. And this being such a rural area up in Northeast Oregon, a lot of people rely disproportionately on their wells for their water supply.
Oregon Rural Action is a small nonprofit group that for the last 4 years has been working in the lower Umatilla Basin. They've been helping the community find temporary sources of safe water and working to hold polluters accountable.
Who are the polluters?
There's quite a few of them, unfortunately.
Boardman is an agricultural town, surrounded by thousands of acres of farmland. It also houses huge warehouses for big industry, like the Tillamook factory and Lamb Weston, which supplies potatoes for McDonald's French fries. But it's a high-tech industry that has activists most concerned.
One of the most rapid industry growths that we're seeing in this area is data centers.
Since 2011, over 30 data centers have been built in the small town, with more on the way.
One of the concerns we have about that is data centers use a lot of water. They use it to keep their servers cool. And when they bring that water in, what we know from some of their permit applications and things like that is that they concentrate the contaminants in the water pretty substantially.
According to monthly facility monitoring reports, data centers in the Boardman area can use over 1 million gallons of water in a single month. But what do they do with it? These data centers run water through a pipe system to keep the rows and rows of servers cool. During this process, quite a bit of water evaporates, concentrating the chemicals and toxins that were already in the water to dangerous levels. Now considered waste, it's up to the Port of Morrow to safely dispose of it.
And all this water gets dumped on farmland around here. And because the farmland is so sandy and there's so much water that's so highly contaminated, it's sort of a perfect recipe for polluting the groundwater.
That polluted water, dense with nitrates, then seeps so far into the ground that wells become contaminated. Ingesting high levels of nitrate can prevent red blood cells from carrying appropriate levels of oxygen throughout the body, and can cause reproductive complications, kidney and spleen disorders, and respiratory diseases. Jim Klipfel's well was tested for nitrates and came back at 52 milligrams per liter, over 5 times the legal limit of 10.
It's not an easy thing to live with. I mean, it's what we have to do, so it's what we do.
Between running his cow farm and serving as a Morrow County commissioner, Jim Doherty would be approached by his constituents with stories of loved ones getting cancer or having miscarriages. He brought these stories up at a commissioner meeting and suggested testing well water.
And I said, you know, has anybody gone out and checked the faucets to find out, you know, what it's like outside of the known plume? And they looked at me like I had a third eye. So, you know, the next day I went out and got 6 sample bottles and I sent it off to the lab in the Tri-Cities. And they called me and I said, just email me the results. And they said, well, we're duty bound if it's an immediate health hazard to call you. I said, which sample? And they said, all 6.
He then went back to sample 70 more wells for nitrates around the county and was called by the lab on 68 of them. Doherty was seeing tests of up to 63 milligrams per liter, over 6 times more than the legal limit. The Port of Morrow supplies water to lots of big industries in the county, almost all of which create nitrates in their wastewater. However, monthly facility monitoring reports from the port reveal that one Amazon data center is pumping out the most. In a statement to Fox 12, Amazon Web Services says, in part, our data centers draw water from the same supply as other community members. Nitrates are not an additive we use in any of our processes, and the volume of water our facilities use and return represents only a very small fraction of the overall water systems, not enough to have any meaningful impact on water quality.
They're way out here in rural country, and they're running potable water past the homes of folks that are drinking poisonous water, right? And that's unconscionable.
Doherty then developed a well testing program to continually test well water in Morrow County. He also worked with the state to start regularly delivering 5-gallon bottles of clean water to those that need it.
You know, if you have your health, you have everything, right? And that's got to come first.
But the state providing bottled water is a temporary solution, one that doesn't work for community members with mobility issues, like Paulo Lopez's mother. She is currently on dialysis, and lifting 5-gallon jugs just isn't possible. So Paulo and his family drive to her every day to help.
My mom has had some health issues, so I do worry constantly about her health worsening because of that. I'm aware that she's washing her dishes with this water. I do worry how that could affect her health.
Paulo is one of the many members of West Glen United, a neighborhood association and boardman that has band together to find a better solution to their water problem. County officials have suggested they be put on city water, which would be a significant increase in their utility bills.
My first reaction was, why are you going to sell us water? Why not help us in dealing with the contamination? Help us get the contaminators to pay. One more bill? We shouldn't have to pay one more bill. We've already been paying with the consequences.
Putting all well users on city water would also require costly infrastructure, like installing new pipes, a water tower, booster stations, and even repaving roads. Members of West Glen United tell me it feels they aren't being listened to, and there has to be another solution. In 2024, Oregon Governor Tina Kotek and 4 other state agencies, including the Department of Environmental Quality, teamed up to develop the Oregon Nitrate Reduction Plan. They say the state of Oregon is committed to reducing nitrate contamination in groundwater to protect the health of people who reside in the lower Umatilla Basin groundwater management area, because high levels of nitrate in drinking water pose a serious health threat, particularly to formula-fed infants and pregnant people. Part of their plan involves modernizing wastewater permits, or limiting the amount of nitrogen and water that can be applied to soil in an effort to minimize the nitrate seeping into groundwater. The DEQ will have the authority to penalize facilities that don't comply, including the Port of Morrow. The full plan starts in 2026 and will take decades to meet their goal of reducing groundwater nitrate levels to less than 7 milligrams per liter. Though there is still work to be done, Doherty has hope for a future with clean water.
Folks need to be able to walk out and pick up the garden hose and drink it, right? I mean, water's a right in life.
A small town, home to big industry, thirsty for change. Part of the nitrate reduction plan includes continuing the work that Jim Doherty started, testing wells in both Morrow and Umatilla County.
The report suggests the most effective approach will be to control and reduce the sources of these pollutants. Reporting in studio, Peyton Romans, Fox 12, Oregon.
Wow, a lot going on there with this report, and welcome back, everybody. You know, that's so in-depth and so crazy of what's happening there for their own water supply. And, you know, I noticed you talked to several different people in there, but generally as a community, you know, what would you say the reaction is to this that's going on?
Well, the reaction to these data centers coming into the town is not very positive. I got to speak with a handful of people in the community and get their opinions, what they think of this new industry coming in, and a lot of them are not satisfied. When you come into Boardman, you can kind of see a pretty clear division of infrastructure. So when you're approaching these data centers, there's new roads that are paved, there's street lights. It's just generally a little newer and more modern, as opposed to other parts of the town where it's dirt roads, there's potholes that have yet to be filled, and there's a very clear visual difference.
Yeah, you could tell where each one is. I mean, and I'm sure that's probably frustrating for community members as well, you know, looking at something like that and not seeing, you know, seeing their roads unpaved. You know, researching this story, because it is very in-depth, what were some of the hardest things for you or biggest challenges of doing this?
Well, the research itself just took a very long time.
Yeah.
So the story itself was filmed in one day from before the sun rose to after the sun went down.
That's just from a background standpoint, that's impressive, because that's a lot that you accomplished there in one day.
We were really racing against the sun, but before that, it was weeks of going through hundreds of pages of documents. Because again, as I mentioned in this story, the problem of nitrate pollution in Boardman has been documented since the 90s. That is not the new part here.
Gotcha.
What is new is both positive and negative. The positive being that there is a new rejuvenated effort to reduce nitrates in the water with the Oregon Nitrate Reduction Plan. On the opposite side, on the more negative side, what's new is these new industries coming in, such as these Amazon data centers, and adding so much more into the water system. So the actual research itself just took a very long time.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Well, it's very illuminating and, you know, fascinating to see this too. So thanks for all of those hours of research and getting that filming done for that. So I guess from here we'll probably just have to wait and see what happens. Is that kind of what's next?
Yeah, we're waiting to see in 2026 the full plan will go into effect, and though it will take decades to hopefully get to their goal of less than seven parts of nitrate in the water, that is their goal, and it will take decades to get to.
All right. Well, Peyton, thank you very much, and thanks for being here with us on Fox 12 Now.
Thank you.
This is one of the things we get to do here, is just talk to our reporters, you know, a little bit more, find out a little more behind the scenes, and really learn more about these stories that they're bringing us, like what you brought. So thank you, Peyton.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for watching. Again, this is Fox 12 Now. We're live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We have lots more coming up here this afternoon. I will be talking to the Oregon State Parks about some changes coming for their new year, and some things you can do for New Year's Day, some things for New Year's Eve. I mean, it's the last day of 2025 if you're watching this right now. So that's all going to be coming up live streaming. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see this video end. So good time to download that Fox 12 Oregon app. But for everybody else, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back here in just a few with more.